Well, the female empowerment space flight may be a total nightmare for Blue Origin. It may go down as one of the biggest PR flops in modern times. Now, this so-called crew is saying they are very offended by the backlash and it is sexist. And they say, hey, we didn't just ride the space capsule, we did research up there. So I'm very confused because the whole thing was 11 minutes. They were actually in space for 4 minutes. So I can't wait to see what kind of research can be done in 4 minutes. Here is Gayle King justifying how she accomplished so much, and her fellow passenger, Aisha Bowe, who is a scientist, saying, hey, we did serious business in that 4 minutes.
Well, there's so many things that have been developed in space that benefit Earth, from pharmaceuticals to like research on agriculture.
Yeah.
And you know, I paused there because we did research and it was emotional. I mean, part of what I accomplished in my flight was I was looking at the future of being able to produce crops that can withstand harsh environments, so we can look at food security here on Earth. And simultaneously, we also were able to certify that device so more people could do research on New Shepard.
So what?
Okay.
As Privateer Productions in our chat says, yeah, 4 minutes playing with stuffed animals, which is what they were doing.
Well, let's look into that research, shall we? I took a look, and she has, in fact, collaborated with Winston-Salem State University, which they call themselves a historically Black educational institution. And according to this release, their project was to bring crop plants on her flight. So presumably they were in her purse or in a container. We never got to see any footage of the plants. And she says, and this project says, that now the students will analyze how plants responded to microgravity at the molecular level. So some questions. Did they actually need her to be there, or could they have put it in like a suitcase and sent that up in the overhead compartment? Or what was her role there? Just bringing them along because she already had a ticket? Also, the footage in the pod showed these ladies mostly fooling around with tchotchke. So does she really do anything while she was there, or did she just carry along those plants and like anybody could have done it? You could have put it in like a barrel or something. And can you really study, this is a good question for Philip, who has a molecular biology background. Can you study exposure to something from 4 minutes in a pressurized chamber? Like, what are we going to get from this? What is humanity going to get from this, do you think?
I think if 4 minutes of exposure to microgravity would affect the molecules in whatever plant she had, I would argue that everybody on the International Space Station is like way overly mutated, or they're just disintegrating. Like I don't see like maybe I don't know. Maybe there's some like research parameters that I'm not familiar with here, but I wouldn't say that if somebody wrote this up as a proposal for research that this would gain any traction whatsoever. This seems a little suspect to me, possibly even bogus. This sounds like what you would do, like a science experiment for kindergartners to get them into science.
One man band in our chat says, oh, no, it just jumped up there. Sorry. Sorry, I missed it now. It just jumped. But he said 4 minutes. Yeah, come on. I feel bad now. Sorry, let me give me the mouse back here. 4 minute. Shoot. Sorry. I was reading it and then it just jumped. I apologize.
You can paraphrase?
I don't even remember now, but it was good. But it was about, type it again because it was good.
Okay.
4 minutes in space.
I mean, it seems to me that it was clever of her to say, hey, I got a ticket on Blue Origin. Do you want to give me some science project? And we can say that this is research-based. That seems very clever. Now, this is not to take anything away from the fact that she is a published scientist. So I'm just curious about this project, this 4 minute project. And when she publishes this paper, I would very much like to see it. Now, when she talks about how humans benefited from space exploration, well, that's true. That's why we have Velcro. That's why we have solar panels. But I do not buy that riding in a manned pod that was manned by men from the ground means that these women contributed to Velcro or what she talks about, medicines or solar panels. Now, Gayle King says that they are being downplayed because they are women, and men, when they take a ride to space, didn't get this kind of media coverage. Watch.
What do you think when people say, oh, it's frivolous? Number one, they call it a ride, which I find very irritating because they never say men went for a ride.
Yes, they do. William Shatner went a couple years ago, and they did, in fact, call it a ride. So no one actually thinks he's a real space captain. Do you?
I do, because I'm a huge Star Trek fan. So I believe that Bill Shatner is Captain Kirk. But even he, when he got back, was like, that was an incredible ride.
Right.
I mean, he's not like, I'm up there doing work. It's not like he was up there, stopping Klingons.
Right. Well, I want to talk about this because these ladies were faffing about. And the men on William Shatner's ride was completely different. I'm going to show you. Also, we still don't have footage, and we never did from the Shatner ride either, of the launch and the descent. I was expecting some kind of Spaceballs level ludicrous speed. Like, I wanted to see their faces look like this. If you know, you know. If you don't, watch Spaceballs with your family immediately. I just was wondering, why didn't we get that? Is it because they got sick, or because they are maybe too vain to look like that, or... did it happen? I'm just wondering.
Was it totally fake?
Yeah. Now, again, let's watch the footage of William Shatner when he was in space for a short period of time and the sort of humility he showed, and then compare and contrast that to the videos you're seeing of, again, all the fooling around that the all-women crew did. Watch.
God.
Oh, Jesus. No description can equal this. Wait.
They're just so quiet. They're just like taking it in, except for the woman. But
Clayton.
This is
there's a lesson. Just don't send women into space.
So once he turns over his shoulder to say, wow, but he's not promoting anything. He said, it gave him this profound sadness almost. It was humbling for him. Quite the opposite to the group of Barbies. Also, you might have noticed they weren't wearing these NASCAR-looking suits. Well, the New York Times reported that Lauren Sanchez worked with designers from Oscar de la Renta to make these. And here was their goal, according to one of the designers. If we make these suits approachable and like something anyone could wear, then space might feel a little bit less distant. Maybe people would say, I want to buy that spacesuit and go to the gym.
Oh my God. Get out
You're
of town.
supposed to be motivated to go to the gym by these space outfits that were flattering and hourglass looking. And also they could zip down to here because that's Lauren Sanchez's MO. So are you inspired to go to the gym? Again, now, even though these ladies are now calling themselves astronauts, the FAA rules say they are not. FAA rules require that the crew members have, quote, demonstrated activities during flight that were essential to public safety or contributed to human space flight safety. None of these girls did this. William Shatner didn't either. They took their seatbelts off and on and in order to descend. So it would be shameless to call yourself an astronaut given these rules. And of course, the contrast of people who actually are astronauts, it's no better than saying that men can breastfeed, but they have the balls, I guess, to do it. These girls do. So let me know what you think of that.
Paracrete says in our chat, sadly, Redacted is promoting a hoax. So, yesterday on the show, we covered how a lot of people think this was fake. I mean, we showed you the hatch opening ahead of time before Bezos even walked up there. And I think Cody also, can I have the mouse if you please? Sorry. So Cody in our chat says, Cody Pertlets, thank you for the $10 super chat, says they accidentally were filming live when the door from the spaceship opened from inside. Fake, fake, fake. Yeah, we covered that yesterday on the show. We showed that capsule being opened from the inside.
Right. And right now, what I want to talk about is the ridiculous narratives. It's like, oh, it's sexist because you don't believe us. It's sexist because you say we didn't do very much. We did research. In 4 minutes, we did research. That's what we're talking about right now. Well, yesterday we talked about whether or not it happened. What were you going to say, Philip?
Oh, I just two things. One, I would say like the only research I think you could conduct in 4 minutes would be like microgravity's effect on your bladder would probably be a good, if any of them peed themselves, then we would know that. But like, it's the difference between saying like, if I say, I flew to Seattle this weekend, you would assume that I got on a plane and somebody else piloted it to Seattle. If I said I flew a plane to Seattle, you would assume I was the one flying the plane. That's why they're calling it a ride, because they didn't do anything. They just rode. Right. They were just in it.
Yeah.
I think next time you fly, Philip, you'll be considered part of the crew and may have to go up in the cockpit and take things over.
Yeah, I mean,
is
at
it
that point,
offensive to
at
the
that point, I'll
bus
be
if I'm just writing?
Yeah.
at that point I'll be a captain and an admiral. So because I've been on a boat
Right.
before too.
Yeah.